Are you one of the 76.28% of Americans living with cancer? Do you struggle daily?
Introducing the Super Stamp, the only product on the market guaranteed to cure any cancer 100% of the time. Willie Mays here for the Super Stamp, the revolutionary cancer cure that will change your life.
Your cancer cells don't always follow the rules that normal cells do. They are constantly dividing, even when they are surrounded by other cells. Normal cells don't do that. In fact, normal cells will die after they've divided 40 to 50 times. Cancer cells, on the other hand, are said to be immortal. They never stop dividing. The way the Super Stamp works is it uses thousands of microneedles to inject revolutionary nanotechnology that seeks and destroys cancerous cells. But to make sure you understand exactly how it does this, I'm bringing in head engineer of Super Stamp Inc., Jackie Chan, to explain this to you.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening.
So, Mr. Chan, what makes the Super Stamp so super?
Well, Mr. Mays, the Super Stamp is really a one-of-a-kind product. There's really nothing to compare it to. The Super Stamp takes advantage of the newest nanotechnology by using microscopic nanobots that identify and destroy cancerous cells. The nanobots analyze the amount of glucose taken in by each individual cells near the application site. Now, what they're looking for is the amount of glucose or sugar each cell takes in. Cancer cells are bigger than normal cells and divide more than normal cells and thus need more sugar to support them. These cells are identified as cancerous. Now, if the cell is deemed cancerous, the nanobot facilitates this process of fusion called co-transport and transports itself with sodium ions past the cell membrane. Once in the cell, the nanobots then penetrate the nuclear envelope and break up the chromosome so that the cells cannot reproduce.
Wow, that sounds pretty amazing. Now, cancer just doesn't stay in one location, does it? At some point, cancerous cells travel throughout the body in what's called metastasis. Mr. Chan, how does the Super Stamp deal with this?
They take the nutritional analysis from the cells they destroyed in the tumor and use that to seek other cancer cells similar to them throughout the body.
Mr. Chan, how would you compare this with other treatments out on the market today?
The Super Stamp is just phenomenal. I would definitely say that it's the most effective and clean way to get rid of the cancer. Other procedures used to treat cancer include radiation, chemotherapy, excision, limb salvage surgery, freezing, or transplants. But the thing is, these other procedures are simply treatments and are unreliable as far as getting rid of the cancer. They also have many side effects such as scarring, infection, to name a couple. Not to mention the outrageous prices for those procedures. You could end up spending over $4,000 for the simplest procedure and over $400,000 for a more effective procedure. Again, none of these comes with a guarantee of curing your cancer. Either way, you lose. The Super Stamp just goes in there and basically shuts the cell down for good. It's clean and easy, and all you have to do is stamp.
That's right, just stamp.
And the Super Stamp can be yours for just 3 easy payments of $39.95. That's right, compared to a $400,000 procedure, it's really no comparison. 3 easy payments of $39.95. So call 1-800-STAMP-IT. That's 1-800-782-6748. And the Super Stamp can be yours today.
Now the next question you're probably asking yourself is this really going to work for me? Can this really get rid of my specific cancer? And the answer is yes, it can. Don't believe me? Well, I'm bringing in Dr. Jessica, head of McCarver School of Sciences at Harvard University, an adjunct research scientist at Super Stamp Inc., to explain exactly how the Super Stamp can work for you. Welcome, Doctor.
Thanks for having me, Willie.
So, Dr. Jessica, what would you say to the folks sitting at home worried that the Super Stamp might not work for them?
Well, first I should clear a few things up. There are four main types of cancer: sarcoma, carcinoma, leukemia, and lymphoma. Sarcomas are cancers arising from cells found in the supporting tissues of the body, such as bone, cartilage, fat, connective tissue, and muscle. Carcinoma is the most common type of cancer. It is found in cells that cover external and internal body surfaces. Lung, breast, and colon are the most frequent cancers of this type in the United States. Leukemias are cancers of immature blood cells that grow in the bone marrow and tend to accumulate in large numbers in the bloodstream. Lymphomas are cancers that arise in the lymph nodes and tissues of the body's immune systems.
And the Super Stamp is programmed by the best technical and biological engineers in the country. Believe me, if we know what it needs to look for, these guys can make it happen.
And the Super Stamp can be yours for just 3 easy payments of $39.95. That's right, compared to a $400,000 procedure, it's really no comparison. 3 easy payments of $39.95. So call 1-800-STAMP-IT. That's 1-800-782-6748. And the Super Stamp can be yours today.
Maybe you're sitting at home and are still not sure if the Super Stamp is worth it. Is getting rid of your cancer really that important? How does it really affect you? Dr. Wright, professor of psychotherapeutic studies at Johns Hopkins University, is here to let you know that dealing with your cancer without the Super Stamp is really not worth it. Cancer is tough, and you need to deal with it. Right, Dr. Wright?
Right, Mr. Mays. Cancer is stressful. With the initial diagnosis, many patients struggle with the fear of death, disruption of life plans, changes in body image and self-esteem, changes in social role and lifestyle, and concerns of financial and legal statuses of the diagnosed individual. People with cancer have an increased risk of depression, more acute anxiety, impairment of their cognitive memory condition, and even are at risk for post-traumatic stress disorder.
Can you give us a couple numbers to go with that?
Some of it is still under study, Mr. Mays, but the numbers that we do have are pretty high. About 44% of cancer patients report anxiety conditions and attacks. About 25% are diagnosed with medical depression. And especially with these conditions that disrupt certain hormone balances in the body, letting yourself get to these conditions stunts the healing process of cancer. It can get to the point where it disrupts your sleep and overall quality of life. And if you really suffer with psychological stress, it is reported to actually stimulate cancer growth and cause new cancers to form.
That really isn't worth it. Believe me, you do not need to go through with that. Dr. Wright, talk a little bit more about other psychological effects cancer will have if you don't use the Super Stamp.
Well, another common problem cancer patients suffer from is that they suffer from comprehension and memory failure later in life, which we believe to be an effect of chemotherapy. 28 to 48% of cancer patients eventually get admitted in a hospice later in their life, and 90% of these patients experience delirium in their final hours. Also, you need to think about what kind of effects your cancer has on your loved ones. A survey in England showed that women with breast cancer showed that depression was the strongest predictor of emotional and behavioral problems in their children. Your cancer costs your children, your spouse, whoever it is, to suffer with you and for you.
That's enough from the scientists. Last week, 2,411 Super Stamps were released through Super Stamp Inc. to people with varying degrees and types of cancer. We are proud to say that the Super Stamp has achieved a 100% success rate. But don't take my word for it. Here are some of the early participants who have volunteered to share their stories.
I used to like going to them NASCAR races every Sunday, Daytona, Indianapolis. And then I got some of that skin cancer from not putting on some of that darn sunscreen. And you know what? That just put me out of action. I had to spend my nights in the hospital, and they couldn't figure out how to cure me. Then I got that Super Stamp. Just stamped that on me real quick. Now I go hunting every Saturday, some pheasant hunting, some deer hunting. Now bring me home lots of fresh meat. I love the Super Stamp, and it worked well for me. Buy it.
Hello. I used to work out in the gym every day and lifting, but then I got this bone cancer on my right arm, and that put me out of workout. But then I heard about this Super Stamp trial, and luckily I got selected in one of those Super Stamp trial, and now I can work out every day, 24/7.
What are you waiting for? Call now.
And the Super Stamp can be yours for just 3 easy payments of $39.95. That's right, Compared to a $400,000 procedure, it's really no comparison. 3 easy payments of $39.95. So call 1-800-STAMP-IT. That's 1-800-782-6748. And the Super Stamp can be yours today.
Hello. I used to have
Dun, 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 dun.
Well, first I should clear a few things.
It's right for you. Believe me, you do not need to go through that. Dr. Wright, talk a little bit more.
The Super Stamp is just phenomenal.
So, in order to draw, and the Super Stamp is programmed by the best, and
Alexi.
give us a couple numbers to go with that.
I missed that completely.
How much of my body do you have? Do I need to do hand gestures?
A little bit. Like, make sure they're, like, more, like, when you make circular, like, don't make it awkward. Like, 'cause sometimes, like, I can see your thumb.
Alright.
So, Mr. Chan, what makes the Super Stamp so super?